Дуже дякую за представлення.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Just a small organizational detailization. We're going to have some speakers speak in English. Therefore, if you need interpretation from English or into Ukrainian, please use the headsets. Behind the simultaneous interpreters, we have the headsets for interpretation. And so now we're moving on to our next panel discussion, Aid and Development Meetup. And we are going to talk about cooperation of municipalities with owners. And most of the Ukrainian communities have considerable experience working with charitable and public organizations and have experience of cooperation with partner cities from all over the world. However, not all of them have experience in implementing large-scale projects. And I'm very pleased that this year the municipalities that are going to speak at this marathon will present a complex large-scale projects, and those are projects that have real impact on the daily life of municipalities. We're going to listen about case studies from Ternopil, Kryvyi Rih, and Kharkiv, and at the end there will be an interesting analysis of the best practices with an expert on community development. Our panel will take place over 1 hour, so let us get started. Our first panel discussion is called Green Transformation of Communities Through Energy-Saving Technologies. And I would like to give the floor to our speakers, the representative of Ternopil, Serhiy Nadal, Mayor of Ternopil, please join me, and a representative of an international organization, Igor Knyazyev. He is from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Igor is a leading banker in the Sustainable Infrastructure Department at the EBRD. Please join me. And I also would like to give the microphone to Serhiy, because first we're going to have some short video about his municipality.
Друзі, всім доброго дня.
Hello, friends. The fourth year in a row we have been fighting. Ternopil is a reliable hub for the defenders of Ukraine. We help the IDPs and the armed forces. We help the volunteers. And also we need to take care of our environment. So I would like to thank all of the residents of our municipality community who keep working. They are supporting local economy and they are supporting Ukraine. Yes, thank you. Well, we are going to have a Q&A session, so please use this microphone. So the first question, green transformation of the city. In fact, this is a set of important questions. And it's not only about alternatives, it's also about waste management. We need to provide for biodiversity. We need to green the city. We need to start using biotechnologies some of the biotechnologies we're already using in our utilities. So it is important for us to understand how green transformation may become a real change for any municipality. For instance, in the case of Ternopil. So I have a question to both speakers. How do you understand this notion of the green transformation of the city? What does it mean from the practical point of view? What are your strategies? What do donors see in it? And what are the most important components of green transition? Let me begin with your permission. Hello, everyone. It's the second good day of the conference. As for the green transformation, green transition, EBRD is an IFC, is very interested in this issue, and we need to always bear in mind the priorities of the city, of the client. So We take into consideration the priorities, and this is how we integrate green transition elements, and we take them into consideration in our high priority investments program. Just a few examples. More than a year ago, together with the city of Ternopil, we started the development of a trolley bus project. That is the project with the renewal of the municipal transport fleet. And as we were doing the feasibility study, we understood that the city needed not only low-floor trolleybuses, but the city needs trolleybuses with the system of recuperation of energy upon braking, with higher efficiency engines. Also, we needed to take into consideration the power substation installation. So green transition means that there must be coordination, there must be cooperation of the city with the business and with the people, with the residents. We need to provide for this social contract where everyone does his or her function properly. The city is developing a new type of infrastructure. On its side, business is renewing industrial companies so as to be able to reduce emissions into the environment. And the citizens also need to do their bid. And that's our understanding. Thank you. Yes, this is a very comprehensive approach. First, it's about the comfort and security and safety of the city residents. Second, we need to provide for conducive environment for the environment conducive for business development, and we need to use the best global European experience. So we need to also to reduce the consumption of energy sources and to reduce pollution. We need to create environment-friendly community and business, and we need to use the best experience and to be able to engage the resources that will be working for the good of the community. And we can thank EBRD for helping in doing so. Yes, thank you. Now, the next question is a practical question. Which energy-saving initiatives have already been implemented, and to what yielded the best social-economic result or some other results? Well, those things that are already happening, they have two sides. First, it's economic effect, economic impact, that is reduction of consumption, saving costs, but also there is a social component. We are improving the safety and comfort for the residents. For instance, a transition to modern new street lighting and moving away from the old lighting systems, and we're now currently using new lighting systems. We've been able to reduce CO2 emissions due to that and to increase the quality of life. Also, we're modernizing the heat energy in kindergartens. That undoubtedly there's more comfort and better security for the youngest residents of Ternopil. But another project is the modernization of the district distribution network, district heating distribution network. So we have reduced the gas consumption and we're saving on costs. So I can give many more examples, but we have limited time. Okay, thank you. One more question to you. Speaking about one of the most important projects, that is green transition and the transformation of district heating in Ternopil. What is the scope of this huge project? What is the budget, and what is the social, economic, environmental impact for the municipality? Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank our long-standing partner, that is the EBRD, for the successful implementation of different projects in Ternopil. So first, that is the modernization of the already existing boiler houses. Second, that is the modernization of heat nodes in all high-rise residential buildings. We have replaced the energy carrier, and thus we have been able to alter the temperature that is being distributed. And we used to have the 4-pipe system from the past, the legacy system, and we moved to the 2-pipe system. So we have been able to reduce the use of resources. Then the second project, those are boilers. It's especially important from the point of view of the martial law. We need to have this capability to redirect heat energy from one city area to another city area if needed. We're using not only gas but also using alternative fuels. And in the black case scenario, we will still be capable of running the system. And on top of that, we are reducing the consumption of gas, and we have reduced gas consumption by 25%. Given the current problems with the heat energy tariffs, and given that the tariff differences have not been compensated for by the government for years now. So we are reducing city budgets and by means of savings. And again, we started yet another heating system successfully, and we hope we will run it well. Thank you very much for that. Yes, thank you. And now a question to your partner, to Ihor. Please tell us what international programs of your bank are helping the communities in principle to introduce energy-efficient technologies, and do you have any successful models or approaches from other European countries that we may recommend to Ukrainian communities as an example to follow? Well, as far as the programs, we are taking into consideration the interests of our clients. We are trying to combine, to juxtapose credit financing with grant financing. We understand that municipalities are facing certain limitations with as far as a possibility of receiving, extending a loan is concerned.
We also involve in technical aid at the stage of feasibility study preparation and at the stage of specific implementation of projects and monitoring of results, of outcome of the projects. Besides, the bank has specialists, and we work by specific areas: water supply, wastewater utilization, transportation, etc. We work in all areas and try to use the positive experience we have we try to use this experience from other countries in Ukraine. For example, 15 years ago, when we were discussing this project with you of heating points, no one wanted to listen to us. But now this technology is standard technology, standardized, and I am happy that we were able to implement this project together with you. And we have installed hundreds of such points all over Ukraine. Yeah, it's very important because EBRD is not only a resource, it's experience, valuable experience, and the best professionals who have very good solutions. You can imagine that we started things, and we were the first in Ukraine, and now this solution is used all over the state. Now there is a question which is very important for me in terms of green transformation. What is more important, to change the mindset of people, because then we need to use another approach, or technical obstacles which exist in our country, or the lack of financing? If you make such rating, what is I would say that money is the easiest part. The first is to change the mindset of people, to change the mindset and approach of how business is run. Business should understand that it should be environmentally friendly. Unfortunately, the war stimulates us to be even more effective in this area. Especially business which works in our community, they all use energy efficient technology because, first of all, they can save money in such a way, they can work on the difficult situation and conditions. The second part is the experience, which can be used for the benefit of our community. And the third, of course, is money, is financing. But actually, this is the easiest one. If the first two parts are already accomplished, then it's much easier with the third one. I absolutely agree with you. We can provide money and funds for you. Speaking about technology, there are costly, very expensive technologies, but eventually they can be implemented. But the main thing is to change the mindset. You can create the most modern waste management plant, but when people throw away everything, like batteries together with other waste, then nothing will change it. If you invest into businesses which do harm to the environment, it won't work either. So this is the question of time. It takes more than 1 or 2 years. We have to work constantly in this area in order to change this mindset. Starting with kindergarten, I think, with school, and be very active in awareness raising of the citizens in the community. Every year we have this question of inclusion, which is very acute, and we have more and more people who require special support. So inclusive technologies are very important, and I'm very grateful for the new project for purchasing ecological transport vehicles which are accessible for all categories of people, which this transport is comfortable, is safe. So this question of inclusion is also one of the most top priority issues. So we try to create a very comfortable environment for all our citizens. I can see that you have real partnership, and it's great to see it. It's an example of how communities should cooperate with international donors. Please don't worry that the time is over. We have 5 to 7 additional questions, and I will ask more questions which I have prepared. Speaking about green transformation of the city in general, what are the capabilities the city has in terms of attracting other donors? Maybe you have experience of implementing some small projects together with NGOs, with even with business, because there are large businesses, but there are also small businesses, which are also very important. Sergei, that's the question for you, I think. During the wartime, since the resource is very limited in all communities, and first of all we focus on safety, on supporting our army, we have to save resources, not only of our big donors, and Ternopil is happy to have many partners all over Europe who support us. So we have very good experience of cooperating with the GIZ, and we installed the solar station for our children's hospital, and now they receive electricity due to solar panels. For our youngest patients, which makes it gives us possibility to work under very difficult circumstances. So every project, even small project, is essential. We can large-scale projects, but we have to use every opportunity. For example, now we try to supply all our medical institutions with such units for receiving electricity and energy, and to work in any period of time. And we also work towards developing even smaller projects to supply using solar energy, to use less gas, natural gas, because it's a great threat for Ukraine today. Thank you. And one more question. In addition to energy efficient technology aimed to creating comfortable life for citizens, what else do you do to make life comfortable for your citizens? I think that now the greatest problem, the greatest challenge is the safety issue. Safe environment, the issue of resilient development, of having work. And here we cooperate very closely with our citizens. We have a plan for development of the city, taking into account all those safety issues, focused on inclusion, developing inclusive and safe environment. For the first time in Ternopil, we have had municipal budget project focused on inclusive approaches, and we have more than 30 projects related to inclusive environment and safe environment. I mean shelters, inclusive sports facilities for children. And we can see that war, unfortunately, is changing the mindset of our citizens. So we cannot speak about comfort without speaking about inclusion and safety. And this is the perspective of comfort for all our citizens. I understand that this photo illustrates one of such examples of inclusivity. Yes, this is our vision of how we can transform Ternopil into inclusive space, which is being implemented in our community. And now I would like to thank our international donors who are eager to be involved in this project to make it safe and fine city, the nice city of Ternopil. Thank you. Thank you. If there are any questions from the audience, please, we will be happy. No? To answer them? No? Okay, thank you. I think that Ternopil is a great example of how you should cooperate, how you need to have this cooperation between the community and donors. Yes, we have very, very good, very hard-working citizens in our city. There are many nice cities, but the great city is only one, which is Ternopil. Thank you. Our next city is the industrial center in Ukraine and one of the longest cities in Europe. You need to go 126 kilometers and you can see mines along your way. It is difficult to manage such city even in peaceful times, but during the war it's a great challenge. It's, as we say, it's extremely complicated task. So renovation through partnership with the support of Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, Kривий Ріг and Keller-Müller.
Доброго дня, шановні друзі. Хочу привітати наших партнерів, які зараз зі мною тут, поруч, і хто в залі. Дуже вдячні вам за нашу сумісну роботу і хочу привітати вас від імені найвеликшого індустріального міста України, від металевого серця, залізного серця країни. Мій сьогоднішній виступ, він більше не про те, які виклики, а саме про те, як ми разом з партнерами ці виклики подолаємо. Як ми будуємо
to overcome such challenges, how we are building the resilience, and those slides you are going to see are illustration of specific examples of our universal solutions, universal models which can be used by other cities as well. So a couple of words about the context. We have had more than 180 drone and missile attacks on the city. 3,000 buildings are destructed or ruined, and 3 billion is our help to the armed forces of Ukraine. And the social support is a great component. More than 7 million hryvnias are focused on those families who have had their housing unfortunately destructed. We have the program of free transport in the city. All communal transport in the city is free of charge, and we have prepared more than 1 million food sets, and we distribute them among those who need social support in the city. Speaking about global challenges, then of course the whole country, we all come across this risk factor and safety factor. This gives us the main framework for planning and developing our further steps. The second challenge is our unique challenge is multi-profile type of our city. We have always been dependent on the dominance of large industrial centers, metallurgic holdings, and now during the war, the sale of this production is limited, and now this challenge, we try to minimize this challenge, and I will show you this model which is used by us and our partners. And the second is labor market. All our cities can face this challenge.
So as for the labor market, of course, we're trying to solve our problems with the labor market, and I will tell you how we're solving this problem. So we are transforming in 4 directions. First, we are taking measures so as to move away from being a mono-industrial city, and we are developing a diversified economic models. The second area of activities is the stabilization of the labor market due to retraining, creating new opportunities. The third direction of activity is social dynamics. Obviously, it's quite interesting to retain people and to counteract social and labor migration. It's important to provide people with support. And the fourth direction of activities is good governance in the city. So we need to move from reactive way of management. We need to transition to a more strategic, thought through, analytically based work. Our 2 general partners are the LuxDev and the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. I'm very grateful for Luxembourg authorities, and I'm very grateful to our German partners for their support. Luxembourg is helping us with social and economic adaptation. I'm going to talk about different models later on, but this is what we are focusing on with the LuxDev. And the other partner, general partner, is the GIZ, and I'm also very grateful to the government and to the German people. The team, the GIZ team, is helping us with many different projects, and it is GIZ that is helping us with strategic planning, strategic vision. They're helping us with understanding the aspects of resilience. Of course, in the city, we have developed an ecosystem. It is not only these 2 partners. We have a number of other partners who are helping us. We have the French AFD working with us, UNICEF. Also, the IMO is the International Migration Organization is cooperating with us. So we have general partners, but we're very grateful to all the partners who are helping us. Now, moving on, going back to GIZ, they're the architect of resilience, and our focus is to take step-by-step measures based on clear analytics. Next, we need to be very clear with our priorities, and then implementation and monitoring. I would like to say that as far as the first steps are concerned, we've taken them together with the GIZ. We developed a very specific resilience strategy, and it is now in the strategy of the development of the city until 2030. So those public projects that helped us to form our portfolio, they're actually based on these specific stages. So first we did the analytics, then we set out priorities, developed the portfolio, implementation move is the next one in line. And that is what we're doing with GIZ. So again, it's all about resilience strategy. And that is the basis for any further steps to be taken, so as to be able to renew and to provide for further development of the city in this difficult time. Also, we need to provide for the strategy of decentralized district heating. The problem is that once the Kakhovka Dam was destroyed, and as you know, that was one of the major environmental catastrophes. It was a true disaster, as that was an act of ecocide. First ever we saw something like that after World War II. So that affected both the district heating system and water supply systems in Kryvyi Rih. So we needed to think about the decentralized district heating strategy. The third direction of activities in cooperation with GIS, the housing rehabilitation strategy, and we are following here a number of projects and felicitated our Jura project team, the SUR, ReBuild, are very helping us. So colleagues, thank you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Now, for me, it's actually my main line of business, that is the integrated city development, where we're balancing all of the matters. So we need to work with this small and medium business, so we need to provide our residents with comfortable living conditions. We need to provide for security, and we need to provide access to basic services. So, as far as our cooperation with GIZ is concerned, we have developed this solid foundation on which we are currently building a number of other projects. We're implementing those and monitoring them. Now, Luxembourg. Well, that is a really big and very interesting project. LuxDev is very helpful. Dear colleagues, thank you so much every single time you're there with us. And it's now not only about the city, it's also about the agglomeration. So the focus is broader here. And in this case, we are talking about the Kryvyi Rih city and the agglomeration. So the total population exceeds 1 million people. So our city is like an anchor, and it helps us to engage all the adjacent municipalities, which is a very good model. It helps us to balance out, to iron out differences. And I'm very grateful to Luxembourg for choosing this specific approach. If we look at our cooperation with LuxDev, I would like to say specifically, give you a very to show you this specific example of our economy structure before and after the war. So industry was 60% before the war. The input into the economy was 60%, and SMEs had the share of 40% in our economy, local economy. But now the industrial component is obviously there. It's a priority. But from the point of view of the budget, the industry is no longer the dominating factor. Due to our development of SMEs, we have been able to provide for a major impetus. And this is how we are developing small and medium-sized businesses in the city. Now, what do we do together with our partners from Luxembourg? That is SME development. We're providing for the diversification of our economy. Second, we're working on the development of a labor market and the retaining the labor market, which is very important. We see that there are some ideas how to provide for the stability in the city from the point of view of the labor market. And just like other Ukrainian cities, we are developing on the socialization, adaptation of the veteran centers. But that is not enough. That is why, together with our colleagues, we're working on the program for the development and orientation on the vocational training. And the third line of activities is energy security. Last year alone, we installed more than 70 solar energy facilities, and we're very grateful to our colleagues from LuxDev as they helped us with many of such projects. So there is this sense of synergy. There are two main partners for our city, and one of them is helping us with the analytics. They helped us to develop a strategy. Obviously, we run our projects together. And in fact, this is a nice bundle of projects, and all of the projects are now being reviewed in line with our comprehensive approach. So we need to provide for such priorities as energy sustainability, energy resilience. Second, we need to create social resilience in the sense of cohesion in the city, and we also need to diversify our economy. That's why we're developing our new philosophy as for the work with local authorities. So first, we need to establish stable and cohesive communities. Second, it's to instill the sense of partnership. That means that we will be capable to receive new technologies and ideas. Transparency is possible due to digital transformation and establishing the principles, implementation principles of transparency. And the responsible authorities are yet another important component. So that's in a nutshell what is it that we're doing together with our colleagues. So once again, thank you very much. I would like to thank our general partners. I would like to thank the government of Luxembourg and Germany. I would like to thank the German people and the people of Luxembourg. I would like to thank all of the partners, and I would like to give the floor to my colleague, to Carol. Carol, over to you.
Participants, dear Jefka Nudud, Deputy Mayor of Réverie, I thank you for your kind words and the interesting presentation, as you have already outlined the details of the Luxembourg support. I will allow myself to be quite brief. For Réverie, this year marks a historic milestone. It is the city's 250th anniversary. Especially in current times, this is not only a commemoration of the past, it is a celebration of the enduring strength this city has and that has long served as the industrial heart of Ukraine. The full-scale armed aggression against Ukraine represents one of the most severe challenges your district has faced. But you have stood firm, defending the homeland and sheltering the displaced Ukrainians. Luxembourg remains resolute in its support for Ukraine, and in particular for the Réverie region. Our recovery support is one of our largest projects, with 56 million euros over 6 years. As you mentioned, it has a broad and large scope. Focus is made on education, entrepreneurship, demining, energy, and governance. And since the start of the war in February 2022, Luxembourg's humanitarian and recovery support has amounted to over 111 million euros in total. But Réverie remains our focus. Through this partnership, we seek to provide safe and high-quality education and vocational training, to generate employment, to support SMEs, and cultivate a favorable business climate. An important part of this program is our collaboration with the Business Development Fund. Solid businesses are a key element to guarantee stability and resilience in wartime conditions. On energy, I also wish to underscore the importance of our joint efforts to enhance energy independence. A reliable energy supply is essential not only for the economic development, but also for access to education, health services, and other essential services, particularly in times of war. This is also why, in addition, we are supporting the Ukraine Energy Support Fund on a national level. Today, our shared mission is to highlight the investment potential of Réverie as a dynamic economic center and a catalyst for Ukrainian reconstruction. To attract investment for a green, inclusive, and future-oriented economy. We have limited resources. We hope that our partnership, though, makes a difference, demonstrating that progress is possible even in the most challenging circumstances. Therefore, thank you for your collaboration on this, and I wish you all a productive and successful conference. Thank you.
Дуже дякуємо нашим спікерам. І ще при перегляді презентації, оскільки як
I would like to thank our speakers as I actually have two questions to Evgen, and if possible, I would like to ask these questions. Well, the first question is the following. We are all planning our resources way ahead, especially we're speaking about large cities and large projects. And we understand that there is unprecedented level of attack on the city. How are you capable of planning? And how can you do planning both with firefighting at the same time? Because there are so many things that are urgent. How do you plan for the unplanned? In other words, thank you for this question. Well, indeed, it's very difficult to plan under for the unforeseen events. Difficult to predict the unpredictable. As for the recovery after destruction, of course, in our stockpiles, we have the stockpile of construction materials that may be needed in a case of operations needed. So we have the stockpile, and we keeping up the stockpile levels at an adequate level. So if there is a need, we just use the stock that we have and then immediately resupply the stock. So this is the first that we can do. As for our model, I can say that if there is an attack on a building, and if some damage is incurred, then within less than 1 hour, we need to have a staff already running this operation so as to bring help to the residents.
So we have to feel support. Our residents have to feel support from the city. And we do this not alone. We are not alone. We do it together with our partners when a person is in need. And so we have many donors who support us. So the first minutes when people really need this support, they have to feel it. They have to feel and see this support and help specific, that there is light which they can focus on and get this support, renovate your flat, for example, your house. So maximum, very quick location of headquarters and immediate support. And the second question is more about business and your slide about economic situation in the city, that now it is different. When I visited Kryvyi Rih several times, I saw that small business is more about serving people who work in large enterprises, in large business. But now I understand that it's not possible to support the economy of the city only due to this small service. Which businesses do you support, first of all? Do you have this vision? Which businesses should be developed in Kryvyi Rih? The main thing is communication with businesses, and Association of Business in Kryvyi Rih is our constant partner. All strategic decisions which are about the development of the city, they are made together with them. We try to understand their standpoint. They are those actors who provide us with their vision, who give us their understanding, and this is our task, to communicate with business, which is well developed in the city, is quite effective, I would say. And businesses which operate in the city, most of them are focused on providing services. some outsourcing projects, other things. But speaking about services in the city, a great focus is made on the development of companies related to energy resilience, solar panels, accumulation systems, heating pumps. And it's not only about buy, install and use. It's about training, it's about maintenance, and any construction, it provides new places of work, and this creates 5, 6 workplaces around it. It's very good that very quickly our local market can react to this. And the second direction, which we are implementing together with our partners from the United States, from France, this is the support of innovations and innovative ideas, commercialization of innovative ideas. We've been working in the development of startup school, and today we have several ideas of, first of all, we offer such startups to our local business, and if they see their effectiveness in them, if they see their interest in them. Speaking about innovations, Kryvyi Rih is a unique city because we haven't had any experience of building startups. But now we are developing it, and we have very good legal basis. This legislation and training creates a basement for innovation development. And from our experience, I can say that we have new startups, and they enter the incubation stage in such mono-economic cities have to focus their development due to innovations. Thank you very much for such extended answer. Maybe someone else has questions to our speakers. If there are none, then thank you very much for your experience and for your integrated approach to the development of resilience of your city and very fruitful collaboration with great partners.
А наступне наше місто це
Our next city is an industrial center of the country. Kharkiv is a unique city which is a symbol of unprecedented resilience. It is located only 20 kilometers from the front line and is shelled almost every day, which leads to disruption in the city's critical infrastructure. So the next case study is about how to meet the basic needs of Kharkiv residents in conditions where the economy is doing everything to make life in the city unbearable. At previous ReBuild Ukraine events, Kharkiv presented a project for an underground school, and such schools are now successfully operating in the city. Now Kharkiv is presenting the project to install drinking fountains, drinking water for Kharkiv residents. Now Tatiana Stolerenko, advisor to the mayor of Kharkiv, deputy of the Kharkiv Regional Council, and Nicholas Osberg, head of the water supply, sanitation and hygiene department at UNICEF Ukraine. They are welcome to the stage.
Вітаю усіх у
Greetings to everyone in the hall, and thank you for inviting us. Thank you to organizers of ReBuild Ukraine, because for several years we have, during such events organized within the conference, we have presented projects of our community, and we have managed to find donors together with whom we implement such projects. So we are very grateful for such support and for further providing support to the communities of Ukraine. Now I'd like to say about Kharkiv. Hanna said we are just 20 kilometers. Don't make our donors afraid. We are within 40 kilometers from the front line right now. But it's true that it's quite dangerous. Despite this fact, we have more than 1,300,000 residents in the city. And 200,000, these are IDPs. Today, the loss due to war, due to the military aggression from Russian Federation, they are more than $10 billion. It's a huge number, which of course cannot be reconstructed by the city itself. That's why we trust in the support from our partners. More than 9,000 buildings have been ruined, but due to the support from our government, the government of Ukraine, the support from our international partners and international business working in the city, those heroic people who stay and work in the city, first of all, I would like to say that thanks to our armed forces who make this possible to renovate, to reconstruct, and to construct new projects in our city. Today there are 7 underground schools constructed. Kharkiv was the first city in Ukraine which started the concept of building underground schools. It was the decision in order to make it possible for children who stay in the regions close to the front line to feel safe, more or less, and to continue their education. If we have a look at the number of kids who were provided with the opportunity to study offline, this figure was about 6,000 children. Today, due to the construction of this concept, this figure is more than 17,000 children who are able to study offline in Kharkiv. Now we are developing the project of the kindergartens in Kharkiv. Probably you know that several weeks ago we had a situation when the private kindergarten was hit by shahed, and it was partially ruined, but the educators luckily brought kids to the basement, to the underground shelter, and in such a way they saved life of 48 children. All of them were rescued without injuries and victims among children. So the decision was made that we are developing the project of developing underground kindergarten. Also in Kharkiv we have free municipal transport functioning in the city, and since 2022 Kharkiv was the first city in Ukraine who used this concept that residents who stay in the city can use the municipal transport for free. We are rebuilding our houses, our buildings, and this is, we want to say this, like, first underground school, first free transport. Kharkiv was the first in all terms. And now we are discussing the first project Kharkiv as a frontline city, we started installing drinking fountains for our citizens because due to increased missile attacks in our region and in Ukraine in general, we can see that sometimes we stay without water, without electricity, and without heat. And water is the main thing for life, proper life of people. So we made this step forward, and due to the initiative Igor Terechov, the mayor of the city, with support of UNICEF, water supply utility, municipal utility, started constructing drinking water fountains free of charge, which are free of charge for citizens. We are planning to install 70 fountains. While I was going here to Warsaw, I had this number of 29 fountains which are installed and already used in Kharkiv. And right now, when I'm here, there are 40 fountains. So, as usual, our municipal utility workers are very quick, and they try to make life of our residents as comfortable as possible. So this was a key decision for our residents, because during blackouts, every person knows addresses where those drinking water fountains are installed, and they are installed in every district of the city. People can go there, take water free of charge, and this water is, we monitor the quality of this water on a regular basis, and using our special labs, and people have this opportunity to use free drinking water. Every fountain works autonomously. They have generators.
We have diesel generators, and in the case of blackouts, we can switch them on. So, in fact, this is a continuous supply of water. And now I'd like to give the floor to our partners who have supported us with this project, but not only within the framework of this project, because UNICEF is supporting many different projects in the city of Kharkiv. They're helping us with equipping our underground schools. They're helping us with healthcare facilities. Now we're running a very interesting project with a water company. So I would like to give the floor to my colleague to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Real pleasure being here. Kharkiv is indeed a frontline city. I'm really impressed that there are still 1.3 million inhabitants in the city. I've been 3 years in Ukraine. In Ukraine, usually you hear the alarm and then you hear the explosion. In Kharkiv, you hear the explosion first, then the alarm. Not often, but unfortunately. But we can see how active is the municipality, and it's a complex work. Of course, there is the whole work around emergency response in hospitals, on water, and repairing what has been destroyed. But Kharkiv is a leader in the socio-economic development for the entire oblast, and beyond that for broader Ukraine. And so Kharkiv is courageous enough to be forward-looking, to look beyond the emergency and plan ahead in a very interesting way, which I'm going to unpack a little bit. First, as UNICEF, the agency supporting children, we are grateful that you put the emphasis on continuous education. I've been there many times. I've seen what you have done in the metro stations, and I could see the children working. And it's really good that despite of this terrible conflict and war, you still look forward to the future of the children of Kharkiv. So in this forward-looking mindset, there are indeed multiple projects that are very much inspiring, much beyond the borders of Kharkiv. For instance, we are helping you as well to have alternative water source the water intake for water supply in Kharkiv is at reach of the Russian artillery. So your leadership pushes partners like UNICEF to go for a bit further away, very good quality, deep aquifer, 500 meters deep, and we are helping to drill those boreholes so that the water supply can, good water can be distributed without any risk of being attacked by the artillery. You have also, in Kharkiv, I think, the very best solid waste management system, paid for by the World Bank under the lead, partly, by the city, and finalized by UNICEF. And this is a EU standard of wastewater treatment, of solid waste treatment, and it's really good. So it really helps to prepare the ground for the returnees, for Kharkiv to remain a strong driver for the socio-economic development, and very, very honored and pleased to help you on that path. I will end by a very concrete work that helped Kharkiv in a big way, and that I think could be very inspiring to other cities, particularly in the frontline oblasts. It's your effort in bringing together, with the support of the partners, a recovery roadmap for the water and sanitation. It's a simple document, it's accessible online. There is a 300-page report, don't read it, but look at the PowerPoint in English and in Ukrainian, because it's really very pragmatic. It's very interesting, because if you look at the short and medium term proposal from Kharkiv city, it's very simple. It's not very costly. You really aim for low cost, high impact, and pragmatic, and you keep the big investment to really meet the EU standards for later, as you should. In any case, those standards are not even met by France or Germany yet, so you don't need to rush, and you have a lot on your plate already. And this roadmap is very much aligned to this EU integration. And you look at all the aspects, not just hardware and facilities, but also governance, human resources, training plan, and then, of course, the infrastructure in a very specific phasing. You start by what is essential now and push to later what is, and I think this is very inspiring. Since you developed that plan and you launched it, I know that a lot of supporters are coming to Kharkiv. EIB is proposing more loans. Swedish cooperation is also convinced by this roadmap to invest. And so for this reason, we are learning from you this time and trying to replicate that roadmap development in other cities, small towns and cities, and UNICEF, we cannot afford to develop it for every city, but to develop it as a model, simplified, so that other cities can have their roadmap and then convince the supporters, the donors, but also the private sector investment. And I think it's a really good example of a locally owned plan. It is your plan, and when we launched it, everybody was surprised about the level of ownership from your mayor, from your technical services, and then that roadmap exists, and it's not sitting in a drawer as many other development plans I've seen. It's used, and your reforms that you talk in the roadmap are being implemented. You organize the fusion of the heating and water services for better efficiency. You are rationalizing the human resources, you are training. And so I think this is very inspiring on how to go about this very complex recovery, not putting the bar too high, being very much anchored in the local context on the needs, but at the same time forward-looking so that you continue to receive the support you deserve. And yeah, so let's see how it unfolds, and we are very happy to accompany you at each and every step, especially to welcome other players. We heard Kriviri before, French Development Agency, LuxDev, and others. And I think that's the partnership mindset. It's really what you deserve and what you are getting thanks to your effort. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you for your support.
Я дуже дякую за цей реально
Thank you very much for this highly inspiring presentation. You have spot on presented the main idea. The city is sold in the good sense of this word when the city has ideas, when the city has strategy, when the city has a vision, when the city knows where to go. Where do we go as a community, which is very valuable. Thank you very much for your kind words. Now, are there any questions to our panelists? Because I have a plethora of questions. No? No questions? Okay, all right. So I would like to ask my questions because I have many questions. So I'm going to ask them right away. Tatiana, do you have any statistics on the use of your Vivet when there are problems with water supplies? And for instance, do you have statistics on the use of drinking fountains by residents during normal times and when there is no centralized water supply in homes? What is the cost of maintaining the drinking fountain network per month, per year, given that the maintenance is paid for by the city budget? And do the residents use these drinking fountains? Well, look, we need to think about the cubic meters in terms of cubic meters being used, and if on average this is approximately 100 cubic meters per day per drinking fountain, but during the blackouts we see that it is twice as much. So people actually use them a lot. So indeed this helps you to solve problems. Yes, indeed. And we are currently thinking about a greater number of drinking fountains to be installed all over the city, because there is quite demand for that. And what is the price of one drinking fountain? Did you do the math? Have been thinking about any other alternatives? Well, the cost of per month of servicing of just one fountain is approximately 20,000 hryvnias, so per fountain. So potable water is much more expensive. Okay. And was there any network of such fountains before the drinking fountains before the war? And was it popular? And if there was no such network, why didn't you think about it early on? Well, we have such a network, and those are private drinking fountains that are being still used. But when the city developed its own network of drinking water free of charge, then obviously would like to use this water, which is free of charge. So they spoiled the business in a way. No, we did not destroy the business of this. It's just an alternative. Okay. How about providing these fountains with Coca-Cola? No, seriously. Have you received any feedback from the Kharkiv residents? Do you have any feedback from the residents? What do they think about this system? For instance, would like to have different locations for such drinking fountains. Have you got any interesting stories to tell about this project? Yes, we have some interesting stories about this project. But as for the feedback, well, the residents are very grateful. And everyone supports this project. This project is indeed innovative for the city of Kharkiv. That was the decision that was taken one time ago to place such drinking fountains free of charge. So they're asking to have more of those. But we also have seen situations when small coffee houses were moving close to the drinking water fountains to the distance of 5 meters, so as to use that drinking water for their coffee making machines. So people say that's the way we're supporting business. Okay, that's an attitude. Nicholas, over to you. Tell us, have you introduced any unconventional technical solutions as you were running this project? Can you compare it with a Lego block playing set, where you have a territory where you take blocks and then you start making something using standard elements all over the territory?
Well, this water kiosk for free is not really conventional. UNICEF is a right-based organization, and there is no such thing as the right to free water. It is about the right to safe and affordable water. But in the time of war and for the people in Kharkiv, of course, this is the way to go. And I'm really pleased to hear that it supports socio-economic development with the small businesses around there. Not conventional, well, we in UNICEF, we don't invent much. We rely on Kharkiv to invent, but on those deep boreholes that we are trying to implement in Kharkiv, they are quite expensive. It's about $1 million each. But if we have 5 of them, then there is fresh water guaranteed that the artillery cannot reach, and with much less requirements in terms of treatment. And so that's one alternative. I think the roadmap itself is also disruptive, because in one hand there is this direct support in emergency, but already the city is engaged in the tariff for water, in the business, because if there is no income, then there is no service. And so you see that's very difficult for people from outside to understand that, yes, you can do both. You can have one foot in the emergency right now, while you build something a bit different for the early recovery. We are not there for the recovery yet. And we are still waiting for the innovation to come from our counterparts, and Ukraine across the board, and we can see it, of course, in the conflict, I mean the war itself, but much beyond the war aspects, the capacity to innovate, the entrepreneurship is promising, and I think it's a great asset for the country to recover once there is some stabilization.
Дуже дякую. І ще таке питання. Чи можна
Thank you very much. And one more question. Can you use this project as a case for other communities? For example, other city comes to you which is near the front line. What would you tell them?
Yes, we are using you in a big way. Everyone needs help, particularly in the front line, and there is a competition for help. There is, unfortunately, still quite a de-link between the field and the national level, who try to structure how to organize the support with loan money, grant money. And in this context, we say you want to tap into this loan. You heard about the Recovery Forum in Rome, billions pledged for Ukraine, and you want to access that. If you want to access that, make your roadmap, make your plans. The private sector or the donors, they will trust where there is a structure, a leadership, and a capacity to reform. And so we are using the example of Kharkiv. They did this. It brought ABC, and instead of, again, we are making a training tool out of it. So the Kharkiv roadmap for water and sanitation, which could be used for other infrastructure, we package it in a training tool, simple, simplified for small romadas, medium town, and bigger urban center to develop their own and start attracting concrete support. So that's exactly the plan that we are in, and we will keep learning from Kharkiv because you're ahead of the curve, so that we can also promote your experience.
Дякую. І останнє питання на вашу
Thank you very much. And the final question. What is the strength of Kharkiv? Is it people or technology or community or maybe administration of the city? Why is this city, why has it become an example of resilience not only for Ukraine but for many other countries?
3 years in Ukraine, so my experience there has a limit. There is one thing I see, that there are many reasons. There are the people, there is the private sector, there are the utilities as well, very dynamic staff. And I can compare at any point in time, UNICEF is supporting directly like 100 utilities, water utilities across the country. And the Kharkiv one is particularly dynamic. But I think what was a game changer, it's the management leadership, and the fact that the city mayor pushed right away for this fusion of the technical services, embraced the roadmap, understood the strategic value, and dived into it. The fact that it was not done to please, it was done for having a clear plan that is not too ambitious, So I think that is a game changer, and where there were issues, bring in the authority to solve them, because the country cannot afford too many delays and too many lack of clarity, and it needs to remain very action-oriented. So here, the mayor authority is quite important, and the partnership before escalation of the conflict. Kharkiv had a lot of partners, France and the others. So I think that's also critical. And I think if you are doing well today, while despite of the extreme pressure you are in, it's also because you have a solid foundation of partnership with a lot of agencies and not only international, also national. So these are the two assets, I would say, leadership and partnership.
Thank you very much. Це прекрасний підсумок.
It's a great summary of our discussion. Thank you very much for your input. Maybe we have other questions? Yes, we do. Thank you. For me, Kharkiv is my native city, and the question is, are there any thoughts about renovation of wastewater plants? Because, for example, now we can develop a high-quality project. After the war is finished, then we can start this reconstruction afterwards. Yes, we work in this direction as well, and in order to implement such project, we are supported by NEFCO. We have very interesting conditions, so we never stay still. We are developing. Yes, thank you for your specific answer. Now you can be free. Thank you, our speakers, for this very positive example of how you can implement great projects even at the front line. And now we are moving to the next part. Today, I'm sorry, yes, you deserve applause. This year, the final part of our event will be non-standard. We called it Aid and Development Meetup Summary, and here we will summarize the successful practical solutions that our speakers have shared today, and we will offer some practical recommendations and advice for those who want to implement large-scale development projects in their communities. And to this end, I invite Mikhailina Skorek-Shkarivska, founder of an NGO, Institute for Sustainable Community Development, and Deputy Mayor of Bucha in very complicated years, 2022-2023, and community development expert. We'll have such small discussion. Thank you, Mikhailina, that you were able to join us today. Since we are speaking about the results of what we have heard at this stage, what are you going to take away from what you have heard? Because from every event you have some insights, some ideas. Thank you, Hanna. Very interesting. We had very interesting panel because we were moving from the west to the center and to the east of Ukraine during the panel. And we heard that the cities, which are more or less similar in terms of number of population, we saw that they have very different challenges, different tasks faced by municipalities. So when we speak about Ternopil, then we have very strong social aspect, this accessible architecture, then support for drones. So this is the city far from the front line, but which provides safety and works seriously with these issues. In Kryvyi Rih, we saw how well structured presentation they have and how they work with strategical planning, strategic documents. And we understand that thanks to this type of work, effective work with donors, Kryvyi Rih is successful. And Kharkiv, of course, the city of resilience, the city where we should learn from how on the everyday basis you support life which is under the threat of drone and missile attacks, which you learn about post factum. So these are the discussions of what our communities in Ukraine, what they are doing now, and I feel I'm proud for the communities that under such difficult circumstances they are moving forward, they are communicating with donors, and they're talking about investments, even about credits, which is actually the topic of our today conference, Rebuild Ukraine. And I would like to summarize using the Nicholas Osbert words, who said that for all communities, irrespective of their size, what they have to do, where they have to move under the circumstances we have in Ukraine, how to be effective with our work with donors, how to achieve those billion amounts which we hear at our stands, at the stands of European Commission, that the structure of projects, the capability of communities to prove that these projects they are talking about, they are able to implement and to become leaders in implementation of those projects. These are the elements, the milestones, the pillars for collaboration with partners. So the cities and communities who understood this and use such three criteria, now we can see that under the most difficult situation they are effective, they prove to be effective, and they offer projects which are focused on daily needs of their citizens. And it doesn't matter what region we are talking about, but methodology is the same. Yes, I agree with you completely. I also had this insight because we are conducting this conference for the third time, and I've heard many presentations from different communities. And first, these were presentations of those who are proud for their city. Now I can see effective managers who speak in business terms, like from Kryvyi Rih. They mentioned this project cycle. They understand how these large-scale projects are managed. That's why I can see this change in the mindset of effective managers, and I like it a lot. I could see it during our panel as well, and this change in paradigm. Yes, in previous years, donors said that you received for fast aid and now think about your local economy. But now we can see that local economy is the part and the key direction of work for all communities, all cities present here at this forum in Warsaw. Now I have the question: how can communities replicate the successful experience of cooperation with donors and financial development institutions, which they could see at our locations? Because in addition to Kharkiv, we have many smaller villages, towns around it. How can we replicate those successful experience? So to have this to make it kind of viral. In addition to profile associations, how can we do it using, for example, such platforms as we have here? There are many recipes actually, but the simple one, and we continue repeating it, that you should not stand still and you should learn from others. Because we have heard two presentations from 3 cities, large-scale projects. We heard about underground schools in Kharkiv, we saw them. Schools in the underground, in the metro, but this story with drinking water fountains, it was also discussed in Bucha after the occupation, and it was implemented in one of communities in Kherson region. But now it's a systemic approach which is being implemented in Kharkiv city, not just to clean the wells, old wells, so that we can use them during blackouts, but this is an experience from Kharkiv, and we have a donor with whom you can discuss this idea and ask other donors to support this initiative. I mean those communities which have shutdowns due to missile attacks. So every community has its recipes, very practical recipes, which can be used by others. And I know that 20% of communication between communities leads to new projects. So actually this experience is being shared anyway. But in such a way, as a representative on NGO who works with communities, not with large cities, but with small towns, regional centers, village communities, we are also involved there. We would like to see more representatives of such communities. We are glad to have 7 representatives from communities from around Kyiv Oblast, which shows that not only large cities should communicate directly with donors. All our communities need to learn how to talk to donors directly. Yes, and now I have this question about small and minor communities. We understand that large communities have more resources and more organizational capacity. But other communities, how can they increase their institutional capacity in order to communicate with donors? Yes, it's a bit different model of work. If the large city has to calculate the cost and to develop the project, and we have the budget for this, we can hire people.
Багато малих міст, обласних міст навіть обласного значення, навіть коли
Even the cities of the regional capitals, when they see problems, they understand that they need to have the staff, they need to return the staff. Perhaps their English language skills are not enough, and the English language teachers are not usually effective negotiators, so we need to think how to arrange all of that. So all of us need to professionalize, because we cannot have different standards for donors and for the residents, because donors comes with one program for everyone, and those municipalities that understand and adapt, then those municipalities are more effective. So we need to understand that we need to start professionalizing us on the local level. We have mayors who already earmark funding for English-speaking staff who work at the town hall. So it's important to have people in the city council, in the hall, in the town hall who speak English. Sometimes people are not capable of communicating well with all the departments, that is architecture, financial, budget department, with the municipality company, the transportation company. So an external person will not be as effective as an in-house personnel. So we need to have people who know how to communicate with the donors, how to talk to donors, and it's regardless of the size of the municipality. We need to professionalize that. So there is Alexandriiska municipality. They're super professional. Here we also see the Nizhyn, Korchakiv, and some other municipalities. They all work their own style with the donors. They vary in their effectiveness, but these cities are here. And this means that they're bringing a lot of value to their city. So it's important to start working and to start speaking with partners, speaking one language, speaking one set of terminology, so that there is a good understanding of what we need under such conditions. So how have you been leveling up, and how much have communities meeting the expectations of donors? Because 2022 is like a threshold that is very difficult to go across, but now even small municipalities that aren't that bad, well, they have smaller projects, but they're impactful, and they are gaining good results. then such projects are being upscaled. So how is it happening? Can you give us an example how such a revolution or evolution of thinking is happening, but in small communities? So how about small communities? Well, I think that the main change is psychological change, because in 2022 we thought, oh, come on, I'm more than 40, I'll never speak English. I had some English lessons at school, and I can say hello, goodbye, and that's it. It's not enough, and we all knew that. But now we have many mayors who are English speakers as well, and there is a difference between those cities where mayors speak English, or the deputy mayors speak English, and those cities where they do not have English-speaking mayors, because obviously we understand that interpretation sometimes makes interpretation slower. Sometimes there may be some misunderstanding. Sometimes we do not understand what the donor wants. What is this monitoring? Why do they need monitoring? What is public reporting all about? Why do you need to be on Facebook? Why do you have to write this word, not the other word? Simple things. And any marketing people, professional marketing people, may help a lot for the municipalities, and some things may be very complicated for professional for professional heads of departments. So it's important that people have proper presentations in the English language, so that people have a possibility to provide for interpretation services if needed. For instance, sometimes we need to speak French, sometimes we need to speak English, so we need to professionalize. But municipalities are not afraid, because if in the beginning it was intimidating, okay, give us a generator, there was the first plea, help us with whatever you can give us, but now it's different. Now it's about projects. So it means that there is this big change. It's a major change. But what else do I see? I see that not so many municipalities present here. There may be so many more. We have 1,469 municipalities. Some of them are being occupied, but 1,400 municipalities could have been here. Here, for instance, at this stand, we have Severodonetsk municipality. They have relocated. They work in the Kiev region, and we see the effect of their work with partners here.
Треба, щоб було більше громад. Треба, щоб от дійсно відбувся оцей ефект передачі вірусної передачі досвіду, партнерства, бо без довіри, без персонального спілкування, без певної кількості кави випити.
Apologies for the break. Some technical break was needed for the interpreters. Now we're moving on. So it's about trust building. It's about professionalism of management. And just Nicholas has said, we just need know what we need to do in our municipalities. Thank you very much. And indeed, we are very active with our municipalities. And here we have more than 10% of municipalities from Ukraine. But obviously, KPI may be set higher than that. So as to be able to engage many municipalities also with help. Now a philosophical question, the last one, and a philosophical question. We understand it perfectly well that in the beginning of the war, those municipalities that had been asking for generators or were asking for any help whatsoever, those municipalities were saying, come on, we are in trouble, help us. And against that backdrop, of course, it was easy to organize a city-to-city partnership, but European municipalities not always were understanding why is it that they needed to help Ukraine. But now they understand. Now they're learning from Ukrainian partners. They understand that they need to learn from Ukrainians how to do emergency response. Maybe they're not expecting the war, but there may be some other crisis like a blackout somewhere in the city in Europe, and now they understand why partnership with Ukraine is needed. But what can donors learn from Ukrainian municipalities? Well, that's a difficult question, because when we're speaking about partnership, it means that both sides more or less have give and take, and Ukraine is fighting the war. There are municipalities like in Bucha or Irpin and Hostomel that used to be occupied or partially occupied, and then there were combat areas. Now they're being rebuilt, and there is a lot of investment necessary, and there is less that they can give. However, on the other hand, despite a full-scale invasion 2022, we were trying to understand how to react at the time of crisis, but the reality is very, very different. For instance, the experience of the Donetsk, Lugansk and Crimean stage of the war. Well, that type of experience is completely useless in the case of what was happening in the Kiev region in 2022, because the situation was totally different, because the Russian army then and the Russian army now is very different. They're utilizing very different tactics, and their occupation of the Lugansk and Donetsk and Lugansk regions was very different from the today's occupation.
Практичний досвід. І от ми зараз знаємо, що Європа готується до криз.
Yes, we're speaking about the emergency response crisis center that usually provides updates on the most essential actions in order to be undertaken as emergency response. And yes, we're speaking about just getting your things done and the way the evacuation can be implemented. But have you been instructed that you're supposed to refuel the tank of the car? So some of people haven't managed to evacuate on time, for the car have not been fueled. So there are some technical things, issues, innovative issues, and all that stuff can serve a good potential partner and actor for the pilot projects, because actually there are many issues we can pilot in real life settings, and architectures are given some solutions that facilitate the reconstruction of the housing sector. They give, for example, they asking us, how are they shelling proof? Yes, theoretically we have worked solutions, but in practice it's difficult to say. So this is the kind of the platform we can check, we can do this feasibility study. So it's a kind of I would like to say that in our city we've got a small project with the reconstruction of debris and recycling, and every moment we try to implement the project, we face the issues of like extra issues that are related to the reconstruction phase. So every time we do it, I think that we would benefit from other communities and municipalities' experience. Maybe partnership is not exactly the mode we imagine. Maybe it's about the drastic shift to green energy, to environmentally friendly solutions. Maybe there are some things we do not know. Maybe even we should take into consideration such issues. For example, if the forest contains enough light in order to, for example, produce like natural favorable conditions. Thank you, Helena. At this point, I would like to round up our discussion panel. If there are some questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you, Mikhailina. I'm the co-founder of the fund, which usually deals with the community issues with regard to education, business. So, we're speaking about the investment prospects, about employment. But if there are no people, there is nobody to implement it with. So, how can it be launched? Maybe where is the possibility for the people to do some training? I think that your initiative is brilliant, is utterly useful, because just we would like to know, maybe we would like to ask you how we can handle the human resource issue. If you can, of course, dwell on it, please go. Actually, this issue, thank you, is pretty important, and the answer is pretty simple. If 1,200,000 people live in Kharkiv, they are not expecting like any kind of social assistance in Poland, for example, and or in Ukraine, the extra unnecessary one. So even while traveling by taxi, such rumors or talks disappear. In order to make people function and live in various cities of Ukrainian city, not in Warsaw, Poznan, Gdańsk, Lodz, and other Polish cities, we do need to implement a couple of basic things: water and safe education. If me being here is aware of the fact that, for example, being in Ukraine, my son is evacuated and he continues his education in the shelter. If I am aware of the fact that actually my son has no opportunities of saving his life in the emergency case, so where and how can I guarantee the safety for my child? That's why, of course, I cannot leave my son study in Ukraine. So these key issues are really important, and we have got a couple of schools here with their projects on ReBuild Ukraine that even have come with the request to provide even electricity in schools. Because nowadays they have faced the issue of some kind of alternative solutions, how we can arrange the way in this, for example, in this specific shelter, children will feel pretty comfortable and will be able to study. So without this social component, all the projects will not be efficient. And it's also subject to discussions. Yes, I do know that Europe has hosted many Ukrainians, and I think that your question is important for us because we do want to see people in communities, and we wish it for the European partners as well. Thank you for your questions, because due to your putting questions, we have understood the situation at the level. And thank you, everyone. We have got the meeting point stand. Everyone is invited. Feel free to visit us. Thank you, Mikhailina. And I would like to announce that this panel is coming to an end. And before the next panel, I'm inviting Alexander Reman, CBCA Global Service. Please take the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. In history and life, there are moments that change the way we move forward. A moment when cross-border coordination became essential. When countries across Europe mobilized resources, blankets, medicine, baby food, generators. This collective response marked the beginning of something more than just an aid. It established the first logistical pathway, defined not by geography, but by cooperation. Pathway of solidarity, pathway of courage. And these channels didn't end with the first wave of support. They evolved. They continue today, forming the backbone of recovery and reconstruction. At BSA Global, we've been part of the movement from the very beginning. We've delivered more than 5,000 tons of humanitarian aid since 2022. We operate in more than 15 countries, working closely with local partners worldwide. Behind every recovery effort, there is a supply chain. And behind every successful delivery, partner who makes it possible. We've transported humanitarian aid, medical equipment, and essential supplies. We adapted to close borders, managed customs under pressure, and coordinated with the local authorities in real time. But logistics is not only about past performance. It's about current execution and future readiness. In early phase, we moved emergency medicine and basic suppliers. Today, we deliver infrastructure components and construction machinery. Tomorrow, We will be transporting solar panels, modular housing, and hospital equipment. The nature of cargo evolves. The demand of reliable logistic partner remains constant. We are not a general logistic provider. We specialize where others hesitate in project cargo, multimodal transportation, high-risk delivery. We take on challenges others deem too complex. We delivered hundreds of tons of equipment to regions where conventional access no longer exists. Let me show you a recent example. During widespread blackouts early this year, we've tasked with the delivering of industrial generators to support Ukrainian businesses. Given urgency and infrastructure constraints, we selected air transport. The generators were flown in, cleared at multiple jurisdictions, and delivered directly to the operational hubs. Now they ensure continuity for manufacturing and essential services. That experience reinforced our main principle. When speed and precision matter most, coordination beats scales. As Ukraine rebuilds, our role expands beyond inbound logistics. We actively support Ukraine's export economy, delivering agricultural products and meat to the global market. We transport helicopter components and aircraft parts by air and sea. We move entire factories and equipment from Asia via break bulk. We deliver cranes and heavy machinery from the Baltics using combined road and maritime solutions. Recovery is not solely about reconstruction. It's also about reintegration, reconnecting Ukraine with international supply chains and global demand. To conclude, I invite you to visualize this roadmap, the evolution from initial response to long-term recovery. It links cities, industries, and communities. It represents the logistic backbone of reconstruction. Behind every recovery, there is a network. And behind every successful movement, a partner capable of navigating it, from the borders of different countries to the heart of Ukraine. So we invite you to our booth to talk, because we already have these roots. Thank you.
В продовження теми, якою ми завершили попередню панель про важливість людського капіталу.
Thank you very much, and I would like to make the following announcements. Social facilities and human capital. And I would like to invite Irina Mikulic, the head of International Cooperation and Partnership of the Agency of Development. Over to you.